This video will demonstrate the use of the Allegro Padstack Editor to create a surface mount pad stack. These are the requirements of my surface mount pad stack. Since it is surface mount pad stack, there's not going to be any requirements for any hole type, plating, or drill diameter, or tolerance of the drill diameter. I could offset the pad from the 0, but we're not going to do that in this case. Down the bottom are my pad geometry requirements. The top layer, I want a rectangular 76 by 24 mil pad for my regular pads. If the pad is going to be within a copper area, I want the thermal pad to be 96 by 44 mils rectangular. And for a void, I want a rectangular 96 by 44 mils. My solder mask top is going to be 86 by 34 mils. That's also a rectangle. And the paste mask top, again, a rectangle 76 by 24 mils. So basically matching the same size as my top layer. Those are the requirements. Let's see how we implement this using the Padstack Editor. I already launched the Padstack Editor here. It's in its default state. So the first thing I want to do is before I enter in any numbers or anything, I need to set my units and my accuracy. So we do that down the bottom. My units can be mils, inch, millimeter, centimeter, or micron. I'm going to use mils. And my accuracy can be anywhere from 0 to 4. I'll use 2. Right, since we want to do a surface mount pin, we will come over to the Padstack usage section and select surface mount pin or SMD pin. If you notice already, the top folder tabs have changed. Since I am doing a surface mount pin, there isn't much drilling information required. Actually, there's no drilling information required. As you can see right here, the drill type is set to none. There's no secondary drills like back drills or counterbores, countersinks. Since there's no drilling, there's no drill symbol information for my drill chart, and I don't have to offset the drill. So I can move right to the design layers. This is where I'm going to set the geometries for the pad. So we'll want to start working on that. So my begin layer, I wanted that to be a rectangle, and the values of my rectangle were 76 by 24. And my thermal pad, again, I want that to be a rectangle. That wants to be 96 by 44. And my anti-pad is also the same as my thermal pad, so that's going to be a 96 by 44. I could add a special keep out for there if I needed to, and an adjacent layer keep out. Notice that I only defined the begin layer here. I do not need to find the end layer. If the part that this pad stack is being used with is moved to the bottom side of the board, the begin layer will automatically be mirrored to the bottom layer of the board. Also, I don't need to create a 24 by 76 pad. I can rotate pads inside the symbol editor. Moving on to my mask layers, get my solder mask top. That was going to be a rectangle. And that wants to be 86 by 34 for my solder mask. And my paste mask is going to be the same as my original pads. So I'm going to make that 76 by 24. That's it. If I move to my options, I really don't need anything here. I'm not going to worry about suppressing unconnected pads on my internal layers. Not going to be used as a blind or buried via drill. So I go to my summary, just check to make sure everything looks okay there. My begin layer, my masks. Last thing I need to do is save this. We'll do a file, save as. Again, I have to be careful where I'm saving this to. This directory is important. I need to make sure that my pad path is pointing to this directory so I can find the pads when I create my footprints and also when I place my board. We'll give that a name, something hopefully meaningful, 76x24 SMD. And I saved that pad stack. It's ready to go. Now, one note on my thermal pads and anti-pads. Again, these are being used when I'm pouring copper around the pads. Let's take a look at this pad stack real quickly. Tools, pad stack, modify design pad stack. Select on that pad stack, we'll edit it. this void area around this rectangle, that is being driven by my thermal pad. So in this case, it's 100 by 44. So you notice that this is that big. If I look at my anti-pad, there's only 90 by 34. So you notice that this is a little bit wider and longer than that. So the thermal relief pad will be used to drive this size if the pad is connected. If it's not, then I use the anti-pad to generate that size. As a final note, remember that you do not have to use the pad stacks to generate the void areas around your pads. The constraint system can be used instead of the pad stacks. This concludes the demonstration on the use of the Allegro Padstack Editor to create a surface mount pad stack.